Hello there. This is a video about a little piece of nerd memorabilia I picked up recently. This toy here, the SHADO UFO Interceptor from the early 1970s by Dinky toys. Now, this is based on a TV series of the time Gerry Anderson's UFO from 1970. Gerry Anderson, the man who did Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, the Stingray, the Super Marionation series. UFO was his first live-action series. It's not as well remembered as the Puppet series. It only lasted one season, and that might have been because it had a weirdly conflicted tone. The aesthetics of the show are very camp and colourful. There's very sort of disco-y uniforms, especially on the female personnel. But in spite of having almost like early Sentai tokusatsu aesthetics with all the colourful models and special effects and the costumes, it was sort of dark and gritty, at least for the time. Some of the episodes were about the characters' personal problems. They worked for this secret defense organization fighting an alien threat, and they couldn't tell anyone in their civilian lives about that, which ruined some of their relationships. Some of the characters were clearly had drinking issues. There was episodes involving recreational drug use. Nothing that would shock us these days, but for 1970 it was fairly gritty in tone, so that might have influenced why it only lasted as long as it did and was later replaced by a much more straightforward science fiction show, Space 1999. That said, personally, I think it's much more the interesting of the two and well worth watching if you get the chance. And it was popular enough that there was some merchandise, including our little friend here. So this is an all-metal toy, or nearly all-metal. There are a few plastic bits. These orange struts are plastic. And there's this chrome thing, which goes inside the vehicle to provide some of the detail. It's got some of the thrusters there and a panel that goes here. But I've dismantled it already because I think it needs a bit of restoration. Now, the main metal body of the vehicle is very solid and there isn't much damage to it at all. There's only a bit of paint flecked, which I don't think I'm going to try to replace because that would mean losing these original stickers, or highly likely I should accidentally paint over them even if I try masking them off, and I'm not sure how I'd do that without damaging them, so I'm going to leave the green paint alone for now. In any case, I haven't been able to find a very good match for it. These plastic struts, I've already had to straighten them out a bit. There is stress on them. I can't do much about that, but I've got them closer into shape than they were. They were bent when they first arrived, so I've just had them under a hot hairdryer to soften them up enough to tease them back into their original shape. Now, this is a pretty easy vehicle to dismantle. It's just got these 6 chunky little, I think they're Phillips screws. No, I think they're actually flat screws. Yep, just flathead screws, so they're easy enough to take out. And when you dismantle it, you get the plastic bit there out, and also all these extra metal bits, which form a firing mechanism, because this vehicle had a missile. This is not the original missile, this is just a 3D printed replacement I got off eBay. But the idea was, that's the front end of the vehicle. I'll just shove that in there. In the show, these are basically fighter vehicles. They would launch from the moon to intercept UFOs, like this one here, that were coming to Earth to commit nefarious deeds. Harvesting organs was one of their favorites. We never learned much about these aliens, but they're not a savory bunch, so Earth has set up a defense organization to try and shoot down as many of the UFOs as possible and send vehicles on Earth to try and get the ones that do land. But more on that later if I ever pick one of those up. So the missile would go in the front here. It wouldn't droop that much because it's all going to be properly fixed in place. And then you would prime this little hammer here, press this switch here, and the hammer would shoot forward, smack the back of the missile, and the missile would fly out, hopefully not taking the nose with it, and destroy the UFO. And that is the spring that went in this thing. It's in nice condition and it's really long, and I'm slightly frightened of how much force I think that thing's going to have behind it when it's all go. Because these bits are really, really chunky and solid, I mean, this is like none of the stress goes into the plastic bits. That just sits loosely in the vehicle. All the force is borne by these solid metal pieces. I'm starting to wonder if this is less of a toy and more an introduction to crossbows. I'm pretty sure you would not be allowed a fake missile launcher with that much force behind it these days. And as an extra recommendation, apparently what you were supposed to do back in the day was you would take one of these like paper gun caps, got these ones in a joke shop, and you slip that into the nose right behind the missile, so when the hammer came forward and bashed the back of the missile, it hit the gun cap, give a nice little bang, maybe a bit of flash, and possibly even a little bit of extra force behind this thing, just in case your child's eyes are particularly tough and you're not sure the spring alone will be enough to blind them. Health and safety, how it has ruined our fun. But yeah, so I'm only setting myself a light restore job from this point. Mainly, I want to respray the chrome on this insert here. This has got the pilot seat, the panel, and the thrusters, as I mentioned. And in spite of the really lovely and solid workmanship on much of this thing, this bit is the one thing I would call seriously quite shoddy. It's clearly the surface is very smooth. There's been no attempt to sort of prep that and make the chrome stick better, and if I rub it hard enough, I actually get silvery flecks of it on my hand. So yeah, it's, I don't think that shows up brilliantly on camera, but oh, there's one of them. Yep. So this chrome is just falling off naturally, so I'm going to try and remove it and prime the surface a bit and then respray it, and hopefully it should stick on better. Other than that, there's just these gold metal bits are also looking a bit shabby, so that doesn't look like it's going to be a hard colour to match. So I think I'll just respray those as well. And probably leave this weird sort of metallic apple green colour alone, because I despair of getting a good match for it anyway. Some people like to completely strip these and repaint them in the colours from the TV show, because they were white and with red highlights in the TV show, but would have to be in worse condition. It's decent enough, and with the original stickers, I feel that would be a bit of a shame to actually just completely blitz it, so I'm just going to try and get it close to what it would have originally been. So there's going to be a hiatus now, and hopefully when I resume, this will all be done. Okay, bye for now. Okay, welcome back. We now have the vehicle partially assembled. There you can see how its spring mechanism all fits together inside. It's all nicely enclosed in metal. The sprung switch there to hold it in place. It either goes a short distance, like that, or 2 clicks. Whoop. Gosh, that is so stiff. There. 2 clicks for a more powerful. Yep. I don't think that will be allowed nowadays. So I'm taking a pause in assembling it because the little pilot here, in his cockpit, he was very loose and falling out after I disassembled him, so I've had to put a little dot of glue on him to hold him in place. And I've also been polishing the little perspex cover that goes over him, so while we're waiting for that to dry, I just thought I'd stop to appreciate some details on this model. It's really nice considering that you don't really see this cockpit except through the perspex cover, how much detail they've put into it. You can see they've got little molded buttons, different shaped instrument panels on either side, another instrument panel in front of him, though that one is just plain. But still, it's nice that they've given so much thought to something you hardly see. And the pilot himself, his face is painted pink. He's got a little dark gas mask on his face, painted a different colour. So, I mean, they could have just easily sprayed him all one colour and I don't think anyone would have cared, but it's really nice that they put that much thought into it. So, next thing we'll do, we'll put everything together again. Top half waiting there. And then we will have a go at using the missile launcher and seeing if we can get these little gun caps to work as it was intended. Okay, welcome back. And I've had a go with the paper roll caps, and I'm afraid they are a dead loss. The hammer is nowhere near strong enough to set them off. Maybe they were more sensitive back in the day, I don't know, but I've tried everything. I've tried piling together, I've even tried scraping the Armstrong mixture off them and trying to package it up differently, and nothing is sensitive enough. But since I can even hit those things with the sharp end of a screwdriver and they don't reliably go off, I think they're kind of dud. I've had more luck with these things. These are for, like, revolver-type cap guns. What I end up having to do with these, though, since the hammer is in this thing is completely flat, so it doesn't have a sharp striker or any sort of firing pin, is you can see the Armstrong mixture is... Will it focus? Will it not? Well, just about see the Armstrong mixture is contained in these teensy little plastic buckets, so you can scoop it out with a pin or a needle. Probably should wear some fairly strong gloves for that because it is shock sensitive. It's not very strong, but yeah, it's easier to get that one to go off, but still it's just not working with this for some reason. I don't really know whether I need to put a whole lot more in. I'm reluctant to try that. But the only thing I've found out that does seem to be pretty reliable with it are these things. These are fun snaps. And, well, the idea with these, if you're using them properly, is to just chuck them on the floor and then they go off. Let's see if we can... Oh, that one instantly wants to disappoint us. Let's try again. Yeah, like that. So they contain a different explosive. These contain silver fulminate, I believe, rather than Armstrong mixture. And I did manage to get the hammer to set those off, so we'll give those a go. I'll just snip the tail off since we won't... Oh, gosh. We won't need that. Again, you should wear gloves for this. I am not wearing gloves, but I am stupid. So, pull the hammer right back to its strongest position. Slip your little explosive charge into the nose. Shove the missile in. Point the missile at our target, which is just a cushion here. And then Interceptor's immediate launch, or words to that effect. Keep your hand away from the needle at the bottom there as you fire, or otherwise you'll block the mechanism. Press the little silver button on the side of your Interceptor, and with any luck... So it went off. You can tell it went off because our party snap has now turned black. But it wasn't much of a bang. And what's worse is it acts as a cushion on this thing, so the missile doesn't come out as dramatically as it should have done, so I'm going to cheat for the next test. I'm just going to set some of these ones off and put the sound effect on afterwards and launch the missile at full strength just to see what happens. So another little hiatus. So, for one last experiment, we shall fire the spring at full strength and see if we can destroy a UFO. So here's one I prepared earlier. Woo, woo, alert, red alert, red alert. UFO in yellow sector 5 alpha, whatever. Anyway, Interceptor's immediate launch. So let's prop you up here. Will you stand up nicely for me? There we go. So, again, take your Interceptor. Pull the lever back to full draw. Missile in. And let's see how this performs. Ooh. And that's quite strong, isn't it? I would not want that in my face. Sadly, it hasn't caused any damage to the UFO, so it looks like it will be landing on Earth, where it will probably be destroyed by Sky 1, as they nearly always are.